The Mets have given Devin Williams quite a large contract. 3 years, $51 million, $6 million of which is a signing bonus. So it's really 3 years, $45 million. No opt-outs or options, deferred over the span of 3 years for that signing bonus. So Williams follows Juan Soto as Yankees acquisitions who bolted for Uncle Stevie's money over in Queens the last 2 years. Advanced analytics say Williams was very unlucky last year and should have been much better than he was. That's kind of funny because I remember him being mostly horrendous for a team that needed him to be much better than that. I'm sure it'll work out for the Mets, though. Errol.
I love it. I think it's great for the Mets. Edwin Diaz has a chance to be a Met, too. I think the Mets will re-sign him. And then you have probably the best 1-2 punch in baseball in your bullpen. I think Devin Williams was very unlucky last year. Now you just got to get Pete Alonso signed to the dotted line. And then maybe you make a run for Skubal. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Mets rotation. You will add Skubal and Devin Williams, and you bring back Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz. I think you have the best summer out there. I think it's a slam dunk for the New York Mets.
I think they have to sign Diaz. I mean, he's the guy that's really proven. I mean, Williams' best days in the big leagues, really 1 year as a closer, before that a setup guy. And he had a lot of issues last year pitching for the Yankees. And I guess you put me in the category of being old when you mentioned that he was unlucky based on expected stats. So I'm going to throw a question at Jabba. Don't you wish when you were playing your agent could negotiate a deal on expected stats versus what actually happened? I mean, now when a hitter's getting credit for a ball is hit, and it doesn't matter if it's caught or not. I mean, it's expected stats now mean more than what actually happens.
Yeah, it's weird too, and if you go even a step further, Charlie, too, it's like, okay, he got out, but his exit velocity and all the other stuff that they have, and it's like then they translate it to Parks, and he would actually hit 10 more homers or whatever. And a lot of pitchers are doing that with like their vertical and horizontal rise on certain mounds when they look at like, hey, I pitched better here, and then now they're doing the analytics of the way the mound sits, and this, which is way above my pay grade. I don't know how they do that or whatever. Now on the scoreboard, you can see it as it happens. But yeah, I don't know how to quantify the fact it's like, okay, I'm getting credit for being kind of good, but it didn't really do. I think it's a great sign for both in the way they kind of structured the deal, obviously. And it's not like anything is going to catch him off guard now, just because the Mets are a little different than the Yankees, but not as much as going from Milwaukee to New York, and especially with the Yankees. So I think it's great, too. And I think for him, he's not going to have all the pressure if they do sign Diaz back. If they don't, we could be having a different conversation when it comes down to what happens at the end of the game.
Do you think the expected stats are going to matter for Kyle Schwarber? I don't think so.
I think he just is who he is. I was going to mention the expected stats, too, because the Brewers were kind of skewed the other way. Like, I think in that park, and Charlie, I know you broadcasted a lot of games there, too. It could mostly turn into a pitcher's park sometimes when the roof is closed. It could be open, and then it could be a hitter's park again. So it could fluctuate with that. With the Yankees, it's the other extreme, and all the AL East ballparks, the other extreme. Now, the Mets, it's a different case where they're mostly a pitcher's park. The Phillies are a big hitter's park. The Braves kind of fluctuate. So I think it's going to kind of cancel out in a way. So, again, I agree with you, Charlie. I think they do have to lock up Diaz, too. If they don't do that, then it doesn't look as good doing both. But I think for the deferred money, for the overall money he's getting with the signing bonus instead of the base salary, I think it's good.
I think the success with him in the National League makes a lot of sense. Why he went back to the National League and now want to stay in the American League East, because he was one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball in the National League, and he became one of the worst relief pitchers in baseball in the American League. So I think he just wanted to jump ship. He wanted to get the hell out of the American League.
I wonder this. I don't know this. This is maybe a better question for our baseball experts here. Is it something where if you're a change-up pitcher, like he's a change-up pitcher, the airbender, if he can't place his fastball, the change-up's not going to work. So is it just a matter of him just fixing the mechanics on the fastball enough that he can place it to get the change-up, which is apparently still fine according to those metrics and stuff rates, to get back to it so that he can be effective for the Mets as a setup man for Diaz if they re-sign Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, they play off each other, and I think that's any pitcher where if that's your strength, you always, like, everything goes with that. Like, if I couldn't throw my fastball, for me, I would spin a slider because it'd get me back over. And for him, I couldn't throw a changeup if my life depended on it. So I can't tell you how. I tried everything under the sun to try and do it. But for him, it's like he just has to be somewhere in the vicinity because the metrics on his horizontal and vertical with his changeup and how he's able to over-pronate, because you naturally pronate on a baseball, and he just has to be somewhere near the zone of his fastball. And we've seen it be as high as 97, 98, but we also saw it at 92, 93. Which it doesn't really matter because it comes out of the same slot. So you're going to have like that one pitch that gets you there. And for him, his fastball just has to be somewhere in the vicinity for his changeup to work.
Is because not like the same as Trevor Hoffman, who didn't need anything else, right? He just threw changeup after changeup.
I guess we'll find out if he can get it squared away. Let's move on to our next set of signings. And this one is related because it's a now former Mets hopeful late inning reliever, RYAN HELSLEY, who gets a 2-year, $28 million deal from the Baltimore Orioles. Jeff Passan reports the Orioles signed RYAN HELSLEY to a 2-year, $28 million deal with an opt-out after the first year. Reports say Tigers and Cubs were interested in signing HELSLEY and converting him to a starter. HELSLEY's another one of those advanced analytics darlings because of his stuff metrics, particularly his fastball. But again, this time, the Mets fans who saw him be borderline unplayable last year after they acquired him at the deadline.
Borderline might be generous.
A lot of guys get traded middle of the year, don't have big impacts on their new club, but he had one of the most negative impacts of a guy being traded at the deadline over those final 2 months of the season. But it's all being attributed to that he was tipping pitches, and it took him a long time to figure it out, but he thinks he has figured it out, and I guess the Orioles believe it, or they wouldn't be putting this money up front. They think he's going to be the pitcher that had great success with the Cardinals.
I think the Mets are getting slapped in the face because they gave up all these prospects, and it didn't turn around for them. He didn't do nothing for him. He was horrible. I think his ERA at one point was over 10. He was Devin Williams of the New York Yankees early in the season. Devin Williams got better in the second half. HELSLEY was traded going into the second half at the trade deadline, and just, I don't know. I honestly think the Mets should have just sent him down to AAA because he was playing like a AAA pitcher. So I don't know what he's going to be with the Orioles. He is jumping to the American League East with power teams like Boston, the Yankees, the Rays. It doesn't bode well for him, and maybe he should talk to Devin Williams because it seems like it's a transition from one to the other. I would say I would hope that HELSLEY looks a lot better this year in the American League East. I would say don't bet on it.
Yeah, so, as annoying as I could be with the Mets and what it was, I will be objective and say his peak value was still very strong. He's kind of one of those year to year. Like, he's very good in some of his peak years. That 2021 year with the Cardinals when they had that big comeback to make the playoffs was kind of his peak year, and then he's had some other good ones after that too. But the reason that you worry about it is because a lot of the struggles, and Charlie, you know this broadcasting, like the Nationals and like a lot of these other bad teams had the biggest innings against him, and that was a big reason why I think that you guys beat us 5 out of 6 times, like in the second half of the season. The Marlins were beating all over them, so the Orioles are now going to have to face a division that's very tough to go along with that, and an American League collectively that, I mean, the AL East is good, the AL West is pretty good too, outside of the Athletics and the Angels, really. Like, you're looking at a case of that's going to be some good competition.
The Orioles are the Browns of baseball. That's who they are.
That's harsh.
They're the Browns of baseball. They have all this talent, and everybody talks so highly of them. Remember the Browns with Baker Mayfield? After they had that talented, and they had a great year, and lose to Kansas City in the playoffs, and they were one expected to possibly win the Super Bowl, as Speedy had them going to the Super Bowl that year. And they completely fell off track, and then they winded up moving Baker Mayfield in a year's time. That is the Orioles. They got all this talent. Everybody expects this talent to develop, and they slowly but surely can't afford them, and they move away from them. This is a perfect comparison. Browns, Orioles.
You might be giving the Browns a little too much credit. They're more like the
Reno
Angels.
Johnny, where are you, buddy?
No, he was right about that trade, though, because in addition to HELSLEY, Cedric Mullins was god-awful, too, that he was benched.
And he just got traded to the Rays.
Yep.
Good.
Yes, he did. I actually signed as a free agent today.
Our free agent, yeah. But sometimes, too, I've talked about this, and you've seen it too, Charlie, where it's like, and I think we all have, is sometimes change of scenery does more for people than they think, just because it might be, and it might just not be the baseball side of it, which a lot of people don't understand. There's so much more to the season than the 9 innings that you see. Like there's, family arrangement, there's, travel, there's so much more that goes into what a baseball season is that a lot of people don't understand, that goes into, obviously people playing hurt and whatever. That's obviously part of the game with the season and the grueling schedule that we have. But there's so many factors that go into it where it's like, man, I just need to get out of here. And we've seen it both good and bad, obviously. And so,
right.
Some of these guys.
I think on the whole, you could, throw what you think in on this. Players traded in the middle of the year, if you look at all of them over a period of time, there are very few that have a great success with their new club over those final few months. You talked about all the things that happened. Family upheaval. Now you got the pressure of team traded for you. They're expecting you to deliver. And maybe you were traded because you weren't having a great year, and now you're expected to figure it all out to help a team that's in contention. That's more pressure than you had at any point during the year. A lot of guys don't do well in that situation. And when a player becomes a free agent, they'd rather see who signs now. We're coming to the winter meetings. Nobody likes waiting around until late January, early February, and spring training starting, and they got to figure all that out, and then get to Arizona or Florida right away.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I've done it both ways for agency. I've never ever done it during the year, but obviously been a part of the things that guys getting traded. I've always wondered the perception and the mindset for guys, and I hope I get an opportunity to ask somebody this, is what it's like going from a team that, like you kind of said, where you might suck and you're out of it, but then you're coming to a team that now is in it and they're expecting you to figure something out because they've seen glimpses of it. And then vice versa of like, hey, I was in it, now they can't afford me, I'm going to get too expensive, so they're going to get rid of me. And then it's like you end up like playing for what? Like I would like to know like the mindset and the perspective that you go in. It's like, hey, tell your family to go home because we can start packing our bags for vacation. And now it's like, hey, you might want to hold off on this vacation because now we got a chance to be in the playoff. Like, I wonder what that like perspective, that mindset, because you only get 3 days.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, the Nationals had signed Jesse Winker, and he was coming off a couple really bad years. He was getting booed out of Seattle. He didn't do well in Milwaukee. Was getting booed there. The Nationals signed him. If he did well, the team wasn't in contention. They were going to trade him, and he was having a very good year for the Nationals and was ecstatic when he got traded to the Mets. And he was a big impact player, so much so that the Mets re-signed him last year. Unfortunately, the injuries he had, oblique injuries, can take a long time, and then he got hurt again, never recovered from his injuries. That's the other thing, If you're a player who's traded, who's been hurt, even Kyle Schwarber, when he had that monster June for the Nationals in 21, when he hit 16 home runs, he was having an unbelievable year and then blows a hamstring. The Nationals have a terrible July, and they got all these players on expiring contracts, including Schwarber, who was a non-tender off his previous year with the Cubs. When the Nationals signed him, they traded him to the Red Sox. He didn't play for like 6 weeks until that hamstring healed. He did okay with them, but that still helped him get that big deal that now has expired with the Phillies. But, I can count very few that are traded in the middle of the year and have great success and parlay that into another big deal, whether with the club they were traded to. Usually not. Most times you see that player never re-signs with the team that they were traded to, like Helsley.
Another toe job.
Charlie, it's funny, you mentioned the Jesse Winker thing. 5 years ago, like 2019 or so, like Mets fans hated him because he was taunting them when he was with Cincinnati. I was actually at the game right after that. They lost 1-0, and I think he caught the game when he in left field, the game-winning catch for it, and then they were still booing him at that point. And then 5 years later, they all love him.